wool farms became twice as fast, and we got a bunch of new copper stuff, plus tons of game changes. Hello there, Ray here, and we got a brand new snapshot today. This is 25W32A, and this will be for the upcoming 1.21.9 update, with its full release probably coming out near the Minecraft live event. We got new copper torches. These are made with a stick, a coal, and the copper nugget. Copper nugget finally has a recipe, and you can switch this out for charcoal. This will always make 4 torches, just like normal torches. And when placed down, look at these things. These things are amazing looking. They got this cool green light, as when you burn copper in real life, it does produce a greenish color. And compare them to the normal torches, you can see they're yellow. We also have the soul torches, which are the blue color, and of course we got the redstone torches, which are red, but they did change them. They don't look as much like a torch now, but you can actually see they're putting off the little redstone particles. So we got like yellow, green, red, and blue. So a lot of different colors to choose from for a light source. And let's see how much light they actually put off. Put off a light level of 14, which is the exact same as a normal torch. It would be cool if they gave them slightly less light level, similar to like a soul torch or a redstone torch, just to make them a little bit more unique. But what do you think? And with copper torches, we can use that to craft another new item, which is the copper lantern. This is 1 copper torch in the center with copper nuggets around it. Once again, we have a use for the copper nuggets, and this will make 1 lantern. And this is what it looks like. Oh, it has a really cool lighting animation. That's really nice. And if we compare that to the soul lantern as well as the normal lantern, which also have animations, you can see they're exactly the same other than color, but you just notice that this guy actually oxidized, which is different than the other lanterns. Because it's made of copper, it also has all the different levels that can be oxidized. So besides the nice bright copper color, which you can wax if you want to keep it from changing, there's also the exposed, which is a little bit more pink. Then there's the weathered one, which actually looks really cool. It's almost like the prismarine blocks with the different colors. A little bit more cyan than I would expect, which does remind me a little bit of like camouflage. But then there's also the completely oxidized version, which is really bluish cyan color, which makes the entire thing almost look completely green. That could go really well with different builds. And like other copper stuff, you can always remove layers with the axe or remove the copper with it. And each of the lanterns put off the same level of light. But do you think the light level should go down as they get more oxidized, similar to copper bulbs? And of course, they could come out with a lantern without having a variation of the chain. And that is, we got copper chains. Once again, we got the copper nuggets and a copper ingot in the center. And that'll make 1 chain. But this does mean that the normal chain item is now called iron chain. Although its official name is still called Minecraft chain. Which is going to make the lanterns look amazing by placing them underneath of it. Look at that. That is really cool. And it can also oxidize over time unless you have it waxed. You can see this is exposed, this is weathered, and this is oxidized. Of course, you can put them vertically or horizontally. But my oh my, that actually looks really nice. It almost looks modded with all the different variations. But just like how we have iron chains and iron bars, we also got now copper bars to go along with the copper chains. And using 6 ingots will produce 16 bars. Let's take a look at them. Oh yeah, they are very coppery and they're kind of small, which would be great to fit them in different types of copper-based builds. And if you compare this to the other ones, yeah, they're pretty much exactly the same, just more of an orange color. And here's the exposed one, and then we got the weathered as well as oxidized ones. Look at that. Yeah, it's definitely coming together. There's gonna be so many options for color variations when it comes to these kind of smaller blocks. It'll be so cool to see what builders come up with these. But from a technical aspect, there really isn't any difference between the actual shapes. But it is making so that there is a lot of copper stuff ending up in the game, with there being 4 types and including another 4 when it comes to the wax types. It's crazy to think that copper was just added a few years ago, and now all of a sudden it's taking over the entire game of Minecraft. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but let me know what you think. The copper trapdoor recipe got upgraded. Instead of needing a total of 6, it only needs 4 copper ingots in order to make a trapdoor. This makes it similar to like a iron trapdoor, where wooden trapdoors still take a total of 6, but they also do provide you 2 rather than just 1. They also made it so that all the copper golems will drop as an item when they are mined up. Let's go ahead and break this down with our fist, and you actually get it back. You don't need a special tool. And they also can now get broken down just by pushing them with a piston, when before you just couldn't move them whatsoever. But now this could be another way to break it down. But this doesn't help with my copper golem statue farm, as when it comes to summoning these guys, they do produce this copper chest, which does have to be removed. So you still need some explosions in order to make a farm of these guys. There's also a parity bug between Java and Bedrock. In Bedrock Edition, these guys will freeze after about 8 seconds of being summoned in. But on Java Edition, they take 7 hours in order to freeze, even if they are completely oxidized, which definitely seems like a bug. They should make it so that when you summon them in by hand, they freeze much quicker compared to a completely cleaned off one. That way you can still get the statues really easily. You don't have to wait like 7 hours plus 7 hours plus 7 hours plus 7 hours in order to actually get to freeze. And of course, if you don't want them to freeze, you can always put wax on them. But do you think they should freeze sooner than later? They also changed the way the items are sitting on the shelf. Instead of being in the center, they're actually sitting on this little ledge here. That does make sense, but it's a little bit harder to see them. I mean, they are really small items to start with, and them being in the center, I felt like it just seemed more balanced. But for people that are doing something aesthetically pleasing, it makes more sense that stuff is actually sitting on the shelf so they can make like little houses with shelves and stuff on it. Sheep wool farms now produce twice as much wool. There was actually a bug that's been in the game since 1.17 where they accidentally made it so that sheep couldn't eat grass very fast. This makes wool sheep farms more efficient now, and I also just did a tutorial on my super compact and simple yet efficient wool sheep farm here. You guys can check that out and build it in your worlds. And you can find this one as well as every other one in the game in Minecraft, as I'm trying to design an automatic farm for everything in the game, and it's all in this huge spreadsheet, which I have linked in the description. Speaking of the farm everything spreadsheet, this also keeps track of all the different items in the game Minecraft, and we officially reached 1,500 main items in the game. This mostly has to do with all the copper variations that they've been adding in recently. They removed a cool trick that's been around since 1.15. If you come into your controls here and you go to your sneak and switch it to toggle, now when you tap your shift, you'll automatically be crouching. The cool thing is you could open up like your inventory and be organizing it, all while your player is constantly sneaking. This allows you to stay hidden because when you're sneaking, your name tag doesn't show up above you, which is really useful if you're doing some type of minigame where you're hiding from players. But they finally removed this today. So now as soon as you open your inventory, your person will automatically uncrouch. But by them changing this, it means that it's no longer in parity with Bedrock Edition, because in Bedrock Edition, you can actually toggle and be crouching while in your inventory. Do you think this should be in the game? Since 1.20, dragon eggs could actually, when they're teleported, teleport above the world build limit, causing them to instantly vanish so that you would end up losing your dragon egg. So you won't have to worry about losing your dragon egg if you happen to teleport it near either the top of the world build limit or the bottom of it. With spawn chunks being removed the last snapshot, there's more dependency on the ender pearl chunk loading, and they fix a bug related to that. So normally if you would die with an ender pearl that is floating in the air, it will automatically delete it. But if you have a game rule changed on your world, which is called ender pearls vanish upon death, if you set this to false, then when you die, you don't have to ever worry about chunks unloading. But the problem was that this was not actually working. It was still causing these chunks to unload. Now you can keep things permanently loaded even upon death, but you do have to turn this game rule on. Otherwise, if you want these chunks to stay loaded, you don't want to die, and you want to make sure your player is always online. They fixed a bug related to entities moving fast and how they actually detect if they go through something like a portal or through like a piece of string. This is typically how it's done. It's shot from here and goes all the way back here to this block over here in like one game tick, so super fast. But it still needs to check all the blocks in between to see if it actually hits anything, or if it happens to go through something like a portal, it doesn't have a collision but could teleport it. And the way we do this, it was kind of corkscrew checking all these blocks on the way over there. And then they accidentally broke it, so it was end up checking this really weird line here. But then when they try to fix it, they end up breaking it even more, or it end up trying to do this weird check, and it would actually see that it collided with like a wall, but it still end up going through it. So now it should be back to the corkscrewing checking, which is more precise. This only applies to entities and does not apply to projectiles, which does not fix the bug related to my crazy pearl launcher that can launch players millions of blocks. That's because there's a weird bug. If a pearl goes through another pearl really fast, it will end up just stopping with its forward momentum and end up just getting sent very high and slightly to the side, and then just falls back down again. I made a bug report and I'll link it down in the description, and if you guys upload it, it'll make this pearl launcher more useful. But I will be doing a video about this anyways, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on it. They normally only put like one of each type of main redstone component here. Like we don't have all the trapdoors shown in this tab. But when doing this, I accidentally added in all the shelf blocks. So now there will be only one here. We also got all these lightning rods. So they need to make it so there's only one lightning rod here. And they should probably do the same thing with the copper balls, because The copper bulbs also all act the same no matter how oxidized they are, except when it comes to their light level, but this is the redstone tab and this is not actually the light tab. There's also other creative tabs where they really need to move some of the stuff to the bottom, like all these paintings, they should be at the very bottom because there's a lot more unique stuff down here, like all these mob heads and this end dimension stuff, that in order to get to, you have to scroll past all this replica stuff. I really like how they did the color tabs where like there's just a tons of repetitive stuff here. And I wish they would do something similar when it comes to the tools and utility tab, because we have all these bundles and they block you from reaching this other stuff that's a little bit lower, when the majority of stuff beyond this is all just kind of repetitive. But what do you think? Do you think I'm just being too picky? They also fixed the problem that there is a desync when entities were holding different things. Like you see this block that the Golem's holding is flying all over the place. But this problem affected all different entities, including players, which could have the things in their hands being controlled by other players, which is really strange, but that's all fixed. Last snapshot, the villagers were kind of funny. They're missing different layers of their skin, but now they'll be back to normal. We also got several fixes to the new F3 menu, but if you're still noticing problems, make sure to make a bug report on it. There was a strange bug that was accidentally introduced when you would pause the menu, wouldn't actually pause the game. This would cause you to lose like duration while flying with your elytra, drown while you're in water, freeze in powder snow, and catch fire while you're on a strider. Also, you no longer crash the game while interacting with blocks that have NBT data. I opened my testing server up to all my viewers so you guys can join me as we play around with all this new things, and I will be live streaming it for about 5 hours after this video goes live. So I'll see all you guys over there. Bye bye!